Hi, it's Tony Parinello, the author of Selling to VITO, the Very Important Top Officer. Thanks for continuing to listen to my best-selling book. If you have any questions about what you're learning, don't hesitate to go to vitosalestraining.com and join our VITO community. In the meantime, here's your next chapter. Enjoy.
Chapter 7. How Not to Communicate with VITO.
Lots of salespeople get this far in my program and either think to themselves or say out loud, "This all sounds great, Tony, but I still have one burning question. What exactly do you want me to say to VITO?" These good folks know that selling to VITO is a contact sport, and they know that I'm eventually going to ask them to reach out to VITO. They've heard about how selling to VITO emphasizes direct voice-to-voice, person-to-person contact with VITO, and by the time they reach this part of the course, or the book, or my seminar, or anything else, they're looking for one thing and only one thing: a script. In other words, they're willing to consider using the Selling to VITO system if I promise to give them a sheet of paper with the magic words written on it that will turn VITO into a calm, compliant pussycat on the phone. You should know right now, no such sheet exists, should exist, or can exist. There's no magic script. There are some broad guidelines for having a great call with VITO, and I'll cover them in detail with you. But there's no single speech you can memorize ahead of time and then recite verbatim to get appointments with VITO.
VITO Rule Number 13. Like VITO, you have to be willing to change course as circumstances demand in order to hit your goal.
I want to be upfront with you about this early on so that by the time we do get to the part where you pick up the phone and call the corner office on the top floor at VITO Incorporated, you're ready for what's really going to be happening and you've got the right expectations in place about what has to happen before the call.
Something better than a script.
The voice-to-voice contact with VITO, which is what most salespeople I work with are scared of, is only a part of the equation. It's an important part to be sure, but not by any means the whole toolkit. That's because we're going to be communicating with VITO in many ways, not just by phone. Because we're going to be reaching out to VITO persistently using different types of media, and because most of the salespeople we'll be competing with either don't reach out to VITO at all or make some basic mistakes with VITO that sabotage their conversations within seconds. I want to share something even better than a script with you in this chapter. I want you to memorize the following list of 3 classic mistakes. These are major blunders salespeople usually make when reaching out to VITO, and they apply to verbal, written, and face-to-face communication. Think of what follows as a short course in how not to communicate with VITO. Forget about the script you may want to memorize. Memorize this instead. Committing any one of the following errors is likely to result in
Number 1. A breakdown in communication. VITO stops returning calls, cancels scheduled meetings, or takes his or her sweet time in responding to requests. Number 2. A breach in building business rapport. This means bringing up objections that are insurmountable and unanswerable late in the sales cycle, or maybe even not bringing them up at all. Number 3. A loss or breaking of trust. This means doubting what the salesperson has presented and or promised, suspected, or predicted. Number 4. A loss of the sale. This means you think you are doing much better than you actually are, and you get blindsided by the loss of the opportunity in the bottom of the 9th inning.
To avoid any of those nasty outcomes, you will take a solemn vow here and now to avoid all of the mistakes in all of the communications you will initiate with VITO.
Mistake number 1. Not focusing on benefits.
Focusing on benefits means speaking what I call the language of veto. A benefit is an anticipated end result that brings Vito measurably closer to attaining some specific part of his or her vision. The moment you stop communicating about benefits, you will lose Vito. Will what you're offering increase shareholder value at Vito Incorporated? By one or more of the following familiar results: make Vito money, improve efficiency and effectiveness of revenue generating employees, mission critical employees, and mission critical processes, save Vito money, or keep Vito in compliance with federal, government, or local, or even their own corporate ethics, policies, and procedures. You must at all times connect what you want to say to Vito to those benefits. When you stop to think about it, you will realize why it's so important to speak this kind of language. Vito has to deal with a lot of challenges on the average day: obstacles to growth of Vito Incorporated, labor issues, compliance, mergers, acquisitions, market challenges, and fiscal responsibilities, just to name a few. You want to focus first and foremost on the benefits of your products, services, and solutions, and how they will help Vito overachieve their goals, plans, and objectives for the near term and the long range in all areas of Vito Incorporated. Salesperson on the phone to Vito. Ms. Importante, the new insurance plan we're offering incorporates a user friendly interface that will enable your employees at Vito Incorporated to more easily access their information. Vito. Click, dial tone, you're done. There are 4 different constituencies at Vito Incorporated, and each speaks a very different language. The number one mistake we salespeople make when communicating with Vito is not speaking the language of Vito.
Communicating with the players at VITO Incorporated. When communicating with VITO, focus on measurable benefits, end results that will match VITO's goals, plans, and objectives during a particular period of time. When communicating with the decision maker, focus on advantages, what you will do to tweak, modify, customize, or implement what you sell, how what you sell will provide an edge over the competition, and/or what's currently being used or the status quo at VITO Incorporated. When communicating with Seymour, the influencer, focus on features, the pieces, parts, and components that make up what your product, service, and solution actually is. When communicating with the recommender, focus on function, how people will actually use your product, service, and solution, the stuff you would put in an owner's manual. Mistake number 2, using terminology that Vito doesn't understand.
This is a direct challenge to Vito's ego, power, control, influence, and authority. Always introduce your ideas, thoughts, and proposed solutions using words and phrases that Vito is familiar with and will accept and easily understand. Salesperson on the phone to Vito. Ms. Importante, it looks like our new Krypton generator with its 28MX virtualized software application equalizer will perform with your existing NAP applications while giving you full security against any breach of your relational XT database. Vito's response: hold on, my assistant will help you. I've got more important compliance issues to deal with. Wrong hymn book. The salesperson was pitching a feature to someone who couldn't care less about features, using technobabble and terminology that only an engineer could understand.
Mistake number 3, not respecting Vito's time.
Vitos live to overaccomplish their goals, plans, and objectives ahead of schedule. They divide the world up into 2 groups: those who will keep them from beating the clock and those who help them beat the clock. Which camp would you rather be assigned to? Salesperson on the phone to Vito. What I'd like to do is set up an in-person meeting with all of my team members so we can give you a full briefing. Vito's response: click, dial tone, Believe it or not, Vito isn't looking forward to a full briefing from a group of total strangers. Vito lives in a time compressed world. And if you stop to think about it, you'll realize that you do too.
Listen to the 3 big mistakes and memorize them before you go on to the next chapter. Not focusing on benefits. Using terminology that Vito doesn't understand. Not respecting Vito's time.
Here's my promise to you. Memorizing these 3 mistakes and avoiding them will get you a lot further than memorizing any script ever would.